This video is all about inner child work and generational trauma. As you start doing inner child work, you might notice some resistance or some stuff come up that's not actually yours, and we dive into that in this video. Also, by the end of this video, you will have a very clear roadmap of how to actually reconnect with your inner child and never neglect or abandon yourself again. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Kevin Crenshaw. I also go by the Heart Guy, and I help people with matters of the heart. Your inner child and trauma being two of those things. This course is actually week 6 in my 12-week course about self-love and healing codependency. That's 100% for free on YouTube for you right now. It used to be $3,000. As always, the show notes are below, and if you got questions, hit me up in the Telegram that is also posted below, and just get connected with other like-minded people who are going through this course as well. One last thing, the last section of the video, the audio was cutting out and it was really weird, but I filmed this video many years ago, so I just decided to keep it in. So roll with me a little bit on the weird audio fluctuation. Apologies for that in advance. Also, if you do enjoy this video, please share it with a friend. Again, this course used to be $3,000, and I'm putting it out here on YouTube so many people can go through it for free, and I would love for your help in spreading that message to the world and helping people actually heal and love themselves. Without further ado, here's me from 2019. How can I be here for this version of me, this side of me, even more, so that I can have fulfillment and be filled with what amazing stuff I have in my life, and so that I can be even more present and in the moment to make the right decisions, and so that I can have peace of mind, because I'm not running from myself, because I'm not seeking validation outside of me, because I'm not looking to fill a void, because I'm present with all of me. That's what we're looking to do here. So, week 6, where does shame, blame, guilt come from? Connecting it with the fun, energy, and lightness that is inside of you, and then giving you what you've been neglecting from yourself. So now that we kind of have that clean slate that we've done the entire past 5 weeks, week 6 really is starting to. Now we're going to show up for you. Now you're actually going to show up for you in how you've been neglecting yourself. And most of the time, this is with people's inner child, which your inner child is like you when you were 5, okay? And I want you to prove this. I want you to right now think about or write out, how old were you when you started to feel shame or guilt? How old do you feel as shame or guilt kicks in? How old do you feel when you're starting to beat yourself up? How old do you feel when you have shame and you have guilt? Like literally close your eyes when the feeling is arising. Maybe even relive it right now. How old do you feel? Because that's an inner child wound. Your inner child is the innocence, the creative, the awestruck, seeing the beauty in life, the fun, full of gratitude, expressiveness that's in us, and I have obligations now. I've got stuff that I got to do. I've got my priorities. I got all these other things. I got to make sure that I'm I'm dependent on me. Like other people are dependent on me. I don't have time for being fun. I don't have time to be light. I don't have time to be creative. And we shove the inner child away. And when you do that, is where a lot of suffering comes from, because you're not being present with yourself. You're not loving yourself. You're shoving away a side of you that wants to show up. And think about it. When somebody is being present with you and they're doing it in a fun, loving way, you get fun and loving. That's where the term, filling up your own cup first and then having the overflow pour into others, this is showing up for your inner child. Now, just like your inner critic, we're going to name your inner child. My inner child's name is Kevy. Kevy. I used to be called Kevy when I was little, so I'm just like I'm going to roll with it. And sometimes Kevy is mad. Sometimes Kevy is sad. Sometimes Kevy wants to just have a hug. Sometimes Kevy wants to cry. And I'm really present with him. And it's interesting because when Kevy is good and he's happy, then the other versions of myself, which we're going to get into later in the program, my king, my magician who just loves to create things, and my warrior who loves to make things happen,
can be effective. But if Kevy is not really feeling seen, that can take out all the other sides of you. You can feel overwhelmed. You can a bunch of things. Now, I want to go into for a second that your inner child being wounded means that you're just not feeling safe. And there's actually some signs. I'm going to read this to you guys because it's printed out that how do you know if your inner child is wounded? These are some of the signs. All right, because again, this is just stuff that we've neglected. We've shunned our inner child, and if you want to be integrated, if you want to love all sides of you, that you can't be selective with which parts of you love. If to be loving is to love all ways and in all ways, that means all ways of you, all the ways of being in you need to show love towards, need to be shown love towards. And so it's you loving all of you. That means your inner critic. That means your inner child. And a few other things that we're going to get into later in the program, but these are the two that are neglected or trying to, we fight our inner critic and we shun our inner child. So if your inner child is wounded, and meaning not feeling safe to have fun and express, we're all in different varying degrees of all of these things. So here's some signs. If you say yes to this stuff, inner child wound. In the deepest part of me, I feel that there's something wrong with me. I experience anxiety whenever contemplating doing something new. I'm a people pleaser and tend to lack a strong identity. I'm a rebel. I feel more alive when I'm in conflict with others. I tend to hoard things and have trouble letting go. I try to control things. I feel guilty standing up for myself and expressing my voice. I feel inadequate as a person. I'm driven to always be a super achiever. I'm always doing. I consider myself a terrible sinner. I'm afraid of going to hell, or, whatever you believe. Like, you're just really beating yourself up and, oh my God, I'm such a horrible person. I'm going to get punished. I constantly criticize myself for being inadequate. I'm rigid. I have trouble starting or finishing things. I'm ashamed of expressing my strong emotions, like being sad or being angry. I'm ashamed of just being sad. I apologize often. I rarely get mad, but when I do, it's rage. I have sex when I really don't want to. I'm ashamed of my bodily functions. I tend to avoid having sex. You can think also like performance anxiety. I distrust everyone, including myself. I have an addictive personality and I'm an addict. I avoid conflict at all costs. I'm afraid of people and tend to avoid them. I feel more responsible for others than I do for myself. I never really felt close to my parents. My deepest fear is being abandoned, and I'll do anything to hold on to a relationship. I struggle to say no. All of those are showing, that you have inner child wounds. And so a lot of these things is just being present with your inner child and showing your inner child presence, not even love, just being there for your inner child, because we've been neglecting them so much. And so this is just signs that your inner child is not feeling safe, right? And then so that could be psychological neglect, you're just not even going there. Physical neglect, you're not allowing yourself to feel, whether it's during sex or fully alive with things. You have low self-worth. Then there's also like emotional neglect. You're just, I don't deserve that. And you're like negative emotions. You're beating yourself up, right? It all stems from low self-worth. And that's inner child stuff. Now, there's 10 ways that you're feeling unsafe, which is you were taught that it's not okay to have your own opinions. You were punished when trying to speak up or act differently. You were discouraged from playing or having fun. You had to grow up fast, right? You weren't allowed to be spontaneous. You weren't allowed to show strong emotions, such as anger or joy. You just kind of sit down and shut up. Ever heard that one? You were shamed by your parents or family members. You were verbally criticized, abused on a regular basis. You were physically punished, as in like beaten. You were made to feel responsible for your parents and their level of happiness. You had to make them proud. You had to do certain things for them to get their love. You weren't given physical affection or even emotional affection. If you weren't given all of those things, your inner child is going, I'm not safe, something's wrong. Because again, love is your essence. And so these are all like, wait a second, what the fuck? Like, okay, what's wrong with me then? Because I should be feeling love and there must be something wrong with me. I gotta change who I am. And then we shun away the little kid because we were taught to grow up fast and all these other things. And again, self-love is embodying all sides of yourself, and that means the inner child. So it's interesting when we have this awareness, because then we're like, okay, well then I'm just trying to I'm trying to be an overachiever. I'm trying to get love, like give love so that I can get it. I'm really want to make sure that I don't upset anybody. Like little kids, they're just little kids because they know they have pure intentions. And if they hurt somebody, they're upset. You know, somebody gets upset, another little kid, right? You ever seen them? They're like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And they'll cry it out together, and then they'll be fine because they forgive easy, because they don't hold grudges, because they know that they are good intended. Little kids have this whole thing figured out. And then we start judging and blaming and feeling guilty and not forgiving. And we put this heaviness on life that really just is us beating ourselves up, which we talked about the inner critic. But now as you start to tame the voice of the inner critic, your inner child is going to start to be a lot more present. And you don't want to run from the inner child. That's like if you had a kid and you just neglected them because they had feelings. I don't know. It may be how you parent. Your parenting style might show here because, oh my God, they're crying. I'm just going to let them cry it out. Would you let you cry it out? Maybe that's what was shown to you from your parents. You've done the work on forgiving your parents. You've done the work on forgiving yourself. Well, now it's start to pay attention to yourself. That means your inner child that just wants to have fun, that is innocent and maybe messes up and makes the wrong decisions, that does want to just create and be playful. But we have, depending on your job, sometimes you're not allowed to be playful, or you're deemed not allowed to be playful. I've seen like tough business meetings, like where suit and tie, like this is how it is, gonna be structured. Like people's walls go down when there's humor involved. And somebody like lets their inner child shine, it almost gives permission to everybody else to be like, oh, okay, I can relax. They did it. They did that. We're going to get into the power of being vulnerable in one of the later videos. But you need to show up for your inner critic and know that it's okay to have show up for your inner child, and know that it's okay to have your inner child, like, play. Because life is just a big game. And if you see that life can be fun, and it doesn't have to be a struggle to do everything, you can literally start to embody your inner child and play. So, for example, in Santa Monica, where I live, there's a lot of like bikes. Like you can go literally walk outside, you can rent a bike on Uber, and then just grab the bike and go. And then when you're done, you lock it up, and then you leave it, and it charges your Uber app. It's really cool. And, you know, there's these lines where on the road that are green, and that's kind of like the biking lane, and you stay in that lane. Well, I don't know about you, but when I break the rules a little bit, and I'm like going really fast, and I'm just maybe off-roading because I need to like make a turn, I'm being safe. But there is that little sense of adventure my inner child is like, let's go, yeah, right? And I've connected with that side of myself, and I do it in a discerning way. I don't let my inner child just control my life, because then you have somebody who isn't really taking ownership of things, and you do need to have discernment here. But I'm like, ooh, yeah, Kevy, okay, let's go, Kevy, let's go. One of the things that my inner child loves is exotic cars. So guess what a big goal of mine is? To buy an exotic car. Not so I can get a bunch of attention, because I don't give a fuck. I want an exotic car so I can make Kevy happy, because he loves exotic cars. I've had an obsession with exotic cars, and Lamborghinis specifically, since I was a little kid. My first toy car was a toy Lamborghini. Great job, Dad. Right? My dad owned a rim and tire shop out in Memphis, Tennessee. So, cars were his thing, and he bought me a toy Lamborghini, and I was obsessed with this thing. And I've been obsessed with Lamborghini ever since. So you bet your ass that I'm going to splurge a little bit. Well, Kevin, you have to be responsible for your finances. You're blowing money on that. You could save the world, and you could donate to charities. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to do that shit. I'm going to do it in a wise way where I'm going to save up so I can buy a toy for little Kevy. Now, your toy doesn't have to be a Lamborghini. Your toy could be a dress that you really like. Oh, but I don't know, like, oh my God, this is a lot of money. Should I just spend it on myself? Does the little kid in you want it? I want it. Yeah. Now, discernment. Does the little kid in you just want to eat donuts all day? Because that's probably not a good idea. Does the little kid in you want to, like, overspend your budget? Because that's probably not a good idea. So, again, discernment. But essentially, you're going to start to just pay attention to the voice of your inner child. And let yourself have fun. Because life can be fun, and you can express, and you can laugh. And, a lot of this program has been really heavy shit. And something kind of drove you to me, because you're like, dude, okay, that's the deep work. I want the deep stuff. Well, guess what? You can still go deep and have fun and laugh your ass off. You can still go deep and have fun. It shouldn't be this, oh my God, I'm healing, that I see in a lot of other communities. And it's like, dude, you can just it can be jokes, right? Like, have some fun. That's really what I'm getting at here. And a lot of people, some of us have shunned our inner child away so much that we don't even know where to begin. And we let her out a little bit, we let him out a little bit, but then it's like, okay, you're done. You got to do. You have obligations. You have things you got to get done. But you can get that stuff done when you're maybe having fun while you're doing it, letting your inner child out just a little bit and being present. And all of those wounds that I mentioned earlier come from our childhood. We've done a lot of the childhood stuff. You've forgiven yourself. Now it's just being even more aware of, oh, Kevy's showing up right now. I'm feeling really sad. This is all emotional intelligence, by the way. Just being aware of the emotions that you're having and questioning them. Oh, I'm feeling really sad right now. Okay, Kevy, what do you need? What do you need? How can I be here for you? That's what a parent would do. Instead of, oh, suck it up. Really? Would you say that to your own child? Maybe with some discernment. Okay, now it's time to, like, get up. But you're not going to, like, beat the fuck out of yourself or your kid. You have a big heart. You joined a program from a dude called the Heart Guy, all right? So you have a big heart. And love is a value of yours. So you shouldn't be beating yourself up like that. We already talked about all that stuff in a previous video. But now it's bringing awareness to, like, the innocence in you, your inner child. So part of your homework, and this is a shorter video because the homework is a longer thing, but what I want you to do is to get pictures of you when you were 5. Like, literally ask to see pictures of, if you have a scrapbook, if your parents have them, caretakers have them, maybe it's on Facebook, I don't know. But get pictures of yourself when you were little, and I want you to just look at them. Spend some time, because that little you is still there. Inside of you. Still a part of you. And, in week 3, when we did the fire meditation, where you got to identify which caretaker you needed to forgive, we did a little bit of inner child work. And, that inner child, you had a talk and conversation with them in the fire, was she sad? Was he sad? Were they excited to see you? What was little you like when you fully were expressing yourself? Not after you started beating yourself up and having wounds. I'm talking really early on. What were you like? Did you love cars? Did you love playing dress up? Did you love talking with other kids? How did you like to play? What did you think was funny? What was your favorite color? Quite literally, just get to know yourself as a kid. And just look at little pictures of you. Look at pictures of little you. Because we're going to start to show that side of you a little bit of love. And ask, what were you like? So I want you to actually, if you can, and if these people are either alive or present in your life, ask your caregivers, what was I like when I was like 5? Can you just like, I'm doing this thing and this is just, but like, how was I? I just want some awareness. What was I like? What did you think that was like fun in me? And just really get connected with that and go, oh my God, that's what I've been missing. Oh, guess what? So you mean what I'm looking for, the adrenaline rush of a relationship, is actually inside of me, but I've just been suppressing and ignoring it because I have to do. And that in order to be fulfilled and to be aware of my emotions at that capacity and to be in control of myself, that I actually have to show love to what I've been suppressing. So you're going to look at those pictures of yourself and you're going to ask, what was I like? And then I want you, for your homework, that's part of your homework, but then I also want you to write out, how have you neglected your inner child? What do you not allow yourself to do because you have obligations and you have things to do? So I'm not going to allow myself to be sad. I'm not going to allow myself to fully feel. I'm not going to allow myself to enjoy. I'm not going to allow myself to what? What have you not been allowing yourself to do? Have fun? Because it's not called for. That wasn't called for. I'm sorry. Like, look, the people that are fucking free, they just say what they want. And a lot of times it's really funny to see somebody who's free and just fully express themselves. And that's what we're looking for. But I have to do. Fuck that shit. Be all of yourself. That means your inner child. So how have you been suppressing? How have you neglected your inner child? And you're going to be your own parent and your own guardian, and you're going to give yourself what you never got, or what you wanted and needed, and it was never there for you, because you're going to show up for you. And that's how you love yourself more, is you show up for all sides of yourself. So with all of this awareness, you're going to be both your parent and present for your inner child. And I was thinking about this, and the exercise I'm about to give you guys, I was thinking like a lot of stuff in psychology is like having notes written or getting more understanding and awareness. And I'm the heart guy, right? So how do we bypass all the understanding? Once you have a new perspective, how do you just get the result? Right? So we did a little bit with like love letters and forgiveness letters, and we're writing out things, which is important to have perspective and a deeper that perspective grew. But then I had you do something, right? You lit it on fire. The actions are actually moving things in your nervous system even more so than just having it stuck in your head and aware of it. I'm starting to give you guys now tools to help with your psychology and have it align with your heart. But there's the doingness in using your body is really important. So it might feel even more and more and more uncomfortable because it's more and more and more not common to be doing some of these things, like speaking out loud, like the cathartic meditation that you did yesterday, or not yesterday, but the last week, right? Like a lot of these things are pretty cuckoo crazy, but hey, guess what? That's how you set yourself free, because everybody's got a little bit of crazy in them. And when you cannot judge your own craziness and you can own your crazy, yeah, I'm crazy. All right, fucking deal with it. I'm going to be free and enjoy me. And if my craziness ain't enough for you, guess what? Then you ain't enough for me, because that means you're not in tune with your craziness. I'm going to be crazy and not neglect any of myself. I'm going to be crazy enough to love all sides of myself. I'm going to be crazy enough to do all these crazy things that I'm asking you guys to do so you can set yourself free. That's why in the beginning of in the beginning of all this, I had the inner fire guide, because a lot of this shit's like, really, Kevin? That's really like a weird way about doing things. I don't know if this feels weird. I don't know. This again, your mind's judging it. This is the stuff that's helped me out. So I did this stuff, and I've set myself free, and I'm free to express and be myself, and I have emotional maturity and mastery, and that's what I'm here to teach you guys. Clear the past, maturity, mastery of your own emotions, and then you fill up and become the person, and that's when the right person or the one, or if you're with that partner now, then magnetizes to you. But that's how you set yourself free. That's how you allow yourself to love. Because it's an emotion. It's being in your emotions. It's not stress. Stress is, again, suppressing and rejecting. You don't want to suppress and reject yourself anymore. It's time to pay attention to you, which is your inner child right now. So, sounds a little cuckoo crazy, but hey, guess what? This is going to get you the result that you're looking for. I want you to have a day called Parent Day, where you're going to be your own parent to your inner child. And because we do live in a world where you're going to be interacting with other people, I want you to do as much of this as possible. If it can be in your head, I would rather it be out loud with your mouth. Vocally, when you wake up in the morning, what is little you want to do? I want this day to be like your parent, Kevin, is parenting Kevy, and he hasn't seen Kevy in like 6 months. And so Kevin blocked out a lot of the stuff in his schedule, which I would highly recommend you do, and find a day where you're not doing too much and you don't have anything planned, to have Kevy Day, and Kevy's going to be in charge. Now, again, discernment. If Kevy just wants to eat donuts all day, like, come on now. Like, okay, you can have one, but because I love you and I want to give you what you want. But discernment, and we're going to have a child day where your inner child is going to kind of like take charge of the day. Because if you have time with your son or daughter and you haven't seen them in 6 months, you bet your ass you're going to book your schedule to have a day with them because you love them, and you're going to do that for yourself. And as weird as this sounds, you're going to verbally out loud, hey, all right, Kevin, what do you want to do today? All right, Kevy, what do you want to do today? What shows up, and vocalize it. So when I first did this, I didn't set an alarm. I woke up and I was like, okay, Kevin. I actually said this out loud. Hey, Kevy, what do you want to do today? I was like, oh, I'm scared. Well, what are you scared about? I don't want to. And I cried for like 30 minutes just saying, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to. Because my inner child was neglected so much for so many fucking years because all I did was do and do and do and do. And Kevy was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to. And I finally was able to let it out, and the level of freedom that I experienced, I don't want to do this anymore. And I let my inner child like cry and say it out, like throw a tantrum like a 2-year-old, because he is 2 years old. And then when I let it out, I was able to sit and be, and I was like, it's okay. And I didn't, as the parent, I wasn't like, all right, well, suck it up because we got stuff to do. I've been doing that for way too long. So I was like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Let it out. You would do that with your child, right? What do you want to do now? We got all day. You want to go to the gym? And I was like, no. I was like, well, we can meet some friends. I was like, okay. And then I got myself to get up and do it. This is weird shit, and I almost didn't put this in the program. But this is what worked for me. And as weird as it sounds, you're going to vocally, out loud, have a dialogue with yourself. We've been doing it in the mirror. Now you're just going to do it in your head, out loud. And the reason I don't have you just writing notes to your inner child and then writing as your inner child, like journaling and having this dialogue in a journal, is because when you use your voice, you embody it. When you're writing it down, you're just thinking about it. We're bypassing your thinking, and we're going straight to the heart. We're going straight to embodying it. I don't want to think that I love myself. I want to know that I love myself. I don't want to think that anything. You're getting the awareness in these videos right now. You're going to embody it and stop rejecting yourself by showing up for yourself. And this is the weird work that not a lot of people know about or not a lot of people do because it is so quote unquote weird, but you're past judging yourself. You're this far into the program. It is going to be uncomfortable because you've probably never done it before. Maybe you have. Maybe you're a weirdo like me, but welcome to freedom, because this is what freedom is being there for yourself. And it is socially awkward to be there for yourself because nobody else in society is doing that. And that's why they're so fucking stressed. Well, you're not like the rest of the society anymore because you're a part of the Heart Gang. You're a part of this True Love Accelerator. You're joining me and the Heart Guy and saying, you know what? I'm going to put my heart first and wearing my heart on my sleeve quite literally, and I'm going to show up for myself instead of looking for it externally. That is the shit that nobody's doing. They're saying you should do that, but they don't know how. They're not given the tools. And vocally, out loud, speaking as your inner child and as your parent and having a dialogue for an entire day, that's how you do it. I'm excited about this because I know what's on the other side for you. And it is crazy, but hey, we're all a little bit of crazy, right? So you might start judging yourself when this is, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? I just wanted the relationship, and now Kevin's having me talk as my 2-year-old self, and I'm parenting myself. Yes, because you are, after this, never going to abandon or reject or neglect yourself ever again. And that's how you then know that you're the only one who can hurt you. The real abandonment is you abandoning you. The real reject and neglect is you neglecting and rejecting yourself. If you show up for yourself in this full capacity, in this full way, and somebody rejects you, somebody abandons you, somebody neglects you, you're going to know your worth, and you're going to be like, that ain't flying with me anymore, and you're going to move on. This is how you actually own your self-worth, and you're moving as it and walking in it, and not just rationalizing and thinking about it. Yeah, I love myself. Like, again, where I'm not ain't about the head as much as you guys know. And as I just keep rambling in this video, I'm just trying to help you get the perspective that I see as why this is so important and to do this, because then you'll have the experience, and we already know experiences create your new beliefs. And we also know that we get to control the thoughts that we have. We get to control which ones we believe. We don't control the thoughts we have. Let me take that back. You control the thoughts that you believe, and then your belief becomes your reality. We already know all that stuff. We did that in the previous videos. So now, you're going to show up for who you've been neglecting. And that's yourself. More specifically, your inner child. There are no rules. There's no right way to do this. You're being. So what comes up for you and what's true for you, and you're going to do that. If you want to skip down the street, do it. If you want to climb a tree, do it. If you want to sit home and watch a movie, do it. If you want to build a fucking fort, do it. I guarantee you, the more that you put some heart into this and the more you lean into this process, you're going to have so much fucking fun. It'll be crazy. You're like, I haven't had that so much fun in years. And all you did was you were present with your inner child. Again, you might cry first, but then you'll cry it out. You'll be fine. Your parent will step up and, all right, cool. Like, that's enough crying. Like, let's go. Like, be soft with yourself because you've probably neglected your inner child so much. And if you have kids, you have the one up because you know how to quote unquote handle kids. You have experience here. Maybe think about when you have like babysat before or you've been around other kids, like talk to them as your parent as you would talk to that kid that you were with. Whether it's your own child or you were babysitting or you were around kids. I love kids, so that's why I've built such a strong relationship with Kevy, is because I love my inner child. I'm kind of rambling at this point. You know the homework. All of this stuff is typed below. I just really want you to go all out. The more you go all out, the more you put some heart into it, the better results you're going to have. And the results of this one is freedom. It's creativity. It's having fun in your life. It's seeing everything through the eyes of love and gratitude. It's powerful work. I'm proud of you for doing this. I'm proud of you for making this far on the program again. I keep saying that because this shit is uncomfortable. This shit ain't quote unquote easy. It's easier to avoid and be like, oh, that's weird. I'm not going to do that. And to be self-righteous. But you're so open at this point. You guys are just like, yeah, all right, I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust the trust. I'm going to trust Kevin. And I'm going to trust this program. And I guarantee it to you. We're halfway, by the way. That's kind of crazy. I guarantee you by the end of the program, you're going to be like a completely different person if you're not already. So anyway, I'm going to stop yapping my yapper and I'm going to let you get to it. I'm really excited to play with you guys. I'll talk to you soon. So as we talk about your inner child and as you do some of the inner child exercises, it's probably going to come up some trauma. Now, some of you might be like, oh, Kevin, I don't think I have childhood trauma. Like, I had the best parents ever, and I had a really amazing childhood. That was me. My extent of childhood trauma was my best friends, like, picking on me because that's what guy friends do, and my father not fathering me, parenting me. He was physically there, but wasn't emotionally. That was like the extent of my childhood trauma, or so I thought. And then as I dove into spirituality, dove into personal development, I really learned that there's a lot here that necessarily isn't even my own. There's a book that I want you guys to jot down and read this book to dive a little bit more into this. It's called It Didn't Start With You. And it's about how inherited family trauma shapes who we are. It's passed down through your DNA. So yes, we get our parents' facial features, we get skin tone, literally the genetics, right? But we also get the trauma. And I think that's overlooked, and there's science backing that up. So again, the book is It Didn't Start With You. Definitely go through, read that book. It's phenomenal, and it dives into it a lot deeper than I can in this video. So if you feel like there's been some generational curses that you want to break, because that shit is real, and I'm about to explain that here in a little bit, read the book. Now, for me, I thought I didn't have any trauma, right? Well, I was sharing the story of my birth one time because I knew that it was a high risk pregnancy for my mom. It was very hard on her, and I also know that like she almost died. I almost died during the pregnancy. It was like an emergency C-section, like all this craziness. Okay. Well, I'm sharing this story like in depth, and because my mom had told it to me many times, and I've asked her through some of these exercises that I told you guys to do this week, and I was sharing this story around a campfire with a bunch of people that I very highly respect, and I was like, just something didn't want me here. But then I kept saying the story, My friend cut me off. She was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, what was what? She's like, something didn't want you here? Dude, the angels sang when you entered this realm. Heaven rejoiced because you were needed. Kevin Crenshaw, right here, right now, in this point in human history. No other time. You're needed now. And I was and then she went on a tangent, guys, for 5 minutes. Talk about a good friend. Holy shit. I was bawling my eyes out. Because I didn't even have a subconscious belief. That was like, I wasn't aware of that subconscious belief that I wasn't wanted, but it controlled my life. No wonder I grew up with extreme social anxiety. No wonder I was like, even though I was, blowing up in fitness and things were happening, and even with the heart guy, right? Like I was out here doing stuff. For most people, I was like doing stuff, but I wasn't shining. I was still suppressing. I still wasn't fully like in it there. You know what I mean? And so, wow. That day, I changed the narrative from I'm unwanted, which was a subconscious thing that not even aware of, to I'm craved. And when I started to believe that I was craved, 2 days later, I booked the very first venue for Unlock Love, my first live event. And then 2 days later, right? And then 2 weeks later, I actually had the event. And then after that was the tour. And then after that was the upgrade of the program you're doing now. So it's catapulted this thing this year, and it's very new for me. But even just recognizing that, like, this I'm not wanted thing was literally birth trauma. Because think about it. When you are in your mother's body as developing, you have a heart in embryonic development before you have a brain. So you're not necessarily processing things, you're storing things in your heart. Your heart has its own intelligence. Again, going back to week 2 in the Heart Math Institute, they talk all about this. And if your mother was stressed during her pregnancy with you, heightened emotional experiences, good or bad, certain things happening, then guess whose bloodstream you were attached to? Hers. And so if she had a ton of cortisol spikes and a ton of stress hormones being released, you got that stuff too. Now, you're literally developing your humanness in your mom. So like that impacts the development, and then it's stored in your new DNA and everything. So it's really important to look at this type of stuff. So as you're doing some of the exercises from this week, go back and maybe even ask if you can, if you do have that gift of knowing your mother still and being able to talk to her in this way. Just be like, what was it like while you were pregnant with me? I'm doing some stuff. I just wanted to know, like, was there any hard times? Was there any stress? Like, what was going on? Was it easy? How was my birth? Like, tell me about it all. And it's very interesting, I'm talking about this with my mom, but she was so happy to share it with me because, for mothers, like, it's such a big part in their life. And so she got a lot of joy out of it, but I got a lot of insight too on just like me and that relationship. So definitely dive in and ask, like, what was happening while you were pregnant with me, if you can, right? And if not, try to just source the information. And if you can't, by the way, there's a very good tool that I used to heal generational curses or inherited family trauma, whatever you want to say. So again, the book It Didn't Start With You talks all about this, how it can actually go 3 generations back. So like your great grandfather could pass something on and you're still living in that same fear, in that same anxiety, in the same emotional pattern, right? And so for me, the tool that I used to kind of break this was timeline therapy. It's kind of like hypnosis, but not really, tied in with like going back in the recesses in your brain and just muscle testing. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like if you say yes and then your hand, like the answer is subconsciously is yes, somebody pushes on your hand and it's firm. The answer subconsciously is no, and it collapses. I did this with somebody and I thought about putting it into the program, but after talking with a few people who do timeline therapy as a profession, they were like, it's very hard to do in a group setting, and it'll be even harder to do in a recorded video because a lot of it is the coach seeing and hearing feedback from the client as they're going through the experience, and then changing things as needed. So it's a lot of back and forth. So I would research timeline therapy, see if you can find a timeline therapist, somebody who does it near you. You can do them online. I did mine online through a phone call, and just be open-minded and go all in, because I found a lot of my scarcity or fear, which was basically just worry. I had this addiction to worry. I was always panning out the worst case scenario and everything. Oh, there's an attractive woman over there. Okay, cool. She's going to reject me, and then that's going to mean this, and I'm going to go like, oh, I have this idea, cool, well, nobody's gonna like it, and it literally just instantly went to worst case scenario, and I recognized that was from something with my great grandmother and my mom, so my mom's grandmother and her had an instance that sparked that, and then my mom carried it, and then I got it. I know this is a stretch, so some of you guys are like, what? Read the book. It Didn't Start With You. It'll explain this stuff a lot deeper, but as I explore this, I know that some of my patterns weren't me. Some of my patterns weren't because of my childhood, weren't because of my experiences with my ex-lovers. It was because of my parents, which is so weird to think about, but this is the new studies that psychology is doing, and in the healing world, it is important to release those generational ties so that you can really set yourself free, right? And what's interesting about doing a lot of this work is, like, as you're working on you, you're literally doing the work for 3 generations back, but also you're changing the trajectory 3 generations in the future, which is really fun, but it can be very hard because of that. So we're literally just changing your ancestral history. It's cool. Towards a new future. So anyway, I wanted to make this video in addition to things, just to give you guys an awareness that maybe you were like, oh, I had a great childhood. And as we reconnect with your inner child, it is great to explore that and to be your inner child. But as things pop up, like maybe you were abused and things of that nature, or maybe you don't remember the abuse. I have friends that suppressed it, and it wasn't until they did hypnotherapy that they actually uncovered that they were abused. So dive into hypno, dive into timeline therapy, read the book It Didn't Start With You. I wish I could do this for you guys, but it's, like I said, it's very, very hard, and to do in a mass setting through a recorded video, and I just want to make sure you guys get the right experience. So look into it, search the gram, search Google, whatever you got to do. And those are just some of the tools that I have used to kind of uncover this stuff. And you can't necessarily just do it by sitting and meditating and thinking and journaling, because it's so deep in your subconscious. You need somebody else to talk to or another tool. And therapy alone won't do it either, because therapy is just simply asking questions. You're responding with your conscious. That's why hypno goes to your subconscious, and timeline therapy is muscle test, is like the crux of muscle texting. Muscle testing. It's early. And so just use some of those tools if you do feel there is stuff there, or if you just want to search more in this within yourself. But the more work that you do around, especially your inner child, the more free you're going to feel. Because every sense of freedom is just your inner child feeling safe to be and to play. And then you reparenting yourself, which is literally you stepping in and giving your inner child what you never got. And there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of times we hold grudges. I'm like, oh, my dad should have done this, he didn't, so now I'm just fucked up. Well, okay, or you can step in and be your own parent. And I've done that, which that's Inner Child Day, right? That's the crux of it. That's the beginning of inner child work, is just having that Inner Child Day. But then you take that, and just as you have awareness of the little kid in you, just start to become aware of that voice. Is your inner child like feeling safe? Is your inner child feeling seen? Is your inner child feeling held and supported? Because if you can create that safe space, your inner child will have a blast, and you'll have a lot more fun and happiness and freedom in your life. All of that comes from your inner child, by the way. And we tend to do it because like we want to strive and achieve and create and do. And your inner child is what's going to allow you to have fun. But it's like, oh, I shouldn't have fun. Fun and work don't go together. Fun and, we've equated suffering as a prerequisite to love, or suffering as a prerequisite to achieving things. And that doesn't have to be that. But that's what's glorified in Hollywood, because it makes a great script. You literally can choose how to write your script of your life. You don't have to base it off of Hollywood or what somebody else has told you. Hopefully you're getting that awareness through this program. So what if it could be fun and you could do a lot? What if it could be fun and you could get love and it'd be easy? What would that look like? What if you could have a shitload of fun and stop taking things so heavy all the time? Because in a later video, in one of the weeks here in the program, we're going to talk about how taking things so seriously all fucking time, like I used to, is a sign of scarcity. Because you think it has to happen this one way. We'll get into that later. But if you do feel like you take things very heavy, and it's always heavy, and you're always to a lot of things in life, that might be a scarcity mindset popping up. So what if you could allow yourself to have fun and recognize the abundance of everything that is, and enjoy this human experience just a little bit more? Anyway, just wanted to make this video, slide it in here after creating the entire course, because I was like, there were some things that I didn't talk about, especially my the story of my birth and everything that affected me and impacted me. So I wanted to just rehash this and give this gift to you guys. Make sure you read It Didn't Start With You. And if you can, ask your mom, ask anybody that was involved with your pregnancy and birth, like what was that like? So you can kind of have a little bit more information around maybe some of the things that were stored in you, in your subconscious, in your heart, and not necessarily in your mind and in your head. And then I'm excited to hear how that Inner Child Day goes. But make sure you check in with the Marco Polo app. Let us know, and let me know how this helped you, like especially with the inherited family trauma stuff. Because a lot of it, I tried to give you guys homework on this video, but I was like, basically just go ask, and then seek out hypnotherapy or timeline therapy if you really want to dive into it. But I was going to give you guys homework, and I was like, you can't necessarily journal about this stuff. It's not something that you can find on your own. You really do have to have feedback from other people. Now, I know some very one-off instances where people have found this stuff out on their own, but I didn't. So I'm just sharing how I found my healing with you guys. And as you just be gentle with yourself through this process, you know, a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves. Oh, I'm behind on the program. Oh my God. Just be gentle. Like, what would you say if your son or daughter was behind in school? Okay, it's fine. Like, it's great. Cry it out. Like, let's just take it one step at a time. What would you say if your son or daughter got rejected? What would you say to them? Tell yourself that. What would you say if whatever happens to you would happen to your son or daughter? That's also a huge key in reparenting. And I found that the more I do that, the freer I am emotionally. And with freedom, then you, as the rest of this program is going to lay out, you get to create what you want. And we've kind of cleaned the slate. We're creating that safe container here with the inner child work. And now we're just going to like up level like crazy and really start to, I'll give you guys tools and really start to claim the emotional freedom, the emotional life that you really want. And as a result, you will then be. Then you will do out of that being, and then you'll get your new love story.